Uncomfortable conversations. They're really uncomfortable. Happens to all of us, one way or the other. Happens between partners, business partners, life partners, friends, spouses, girlfriend, boyfriend, employee, employer, team members, everybody. There are always uncomfortable conversations. And a lot of us quit at the beginning of an uncomfortable conversation. Some of us work towards turning the uncomfortable conversation in one's own favor. Some people take a neutral stand and try and really understand the other person as to where they're coming from. A mix of everything. But I feel that the younger generation, the 20s, people in 20s right now, are just more closed to uncomfortable conversations. They just either quit at that occasion, or that moment, or that need. As soon as there is anything uncomfortable, they'll get starting looking into their phones, they'll bang the door, go inside, leave the job, quit college, say this is not working for me. Yes, that's another word. It's not working for me. So that's a very, very, very Gen Z term. It's not working for me. But these uncomfortable conversations are actually very, very uncomfortable. So between, let's say, the spouses and between, let's say, the business partners, who of course have, grown up to a certain age, at least in terms of years that they've been on earth, it's there. It's better than the early 20s. But most of us avoid uncomfortable conversations because we don't want to address our own limitations, our own challenges, our own mistakes, our own different opinions, which we know are different from the other person and the other person would react to, because we think we're right. It's the situation of being righteous, and righteous only for self. We are only uncomfortable to have a conversation when our own self is way bigger than that situation, that relationship, and that person. If that relationship, that situation, or that person really matters to us, then that conversation, of course, will be uncomfortable, but it will peel off layer by layer and we will work towards it. So, between business partners, the most uncomfortable conversations can be about division of work role. So what do you do and what do I do? And why is my work enough and more and you are not doing too much? This is too complicated and too stressful a conversation. And most people don't do that. Most people would not put together a co-founder agreement, if they're two founders, because don't want to be held accountable to that. And there will be many layers to it, that why is it required, it's all clear between us and everything, but they would not really just want to put things transparently in paper, in those dotted lines. And that's a sign that we all must watch out for. Uncomfortable conversations where we just want to tell one side of the story. We just want to declare that, listen, hey, this is how it's for me, and then not bother how is it for the other person. And even if one says that, okay, so how do you want it, but if you're not really listening for how the other person really wants, you're not up for that conversation. It's a one-way traffic. You're just declaring that. And this really just comes from a space of lack of respect and being right. You don't have the respect for the other person. That person is really not important to you in your life. And you're being right about it. Those are the only two conditions. If we drop our righteousness and if we respect the other person, whether we may want to be with them or not, that's fine. But if we still have the respect for that person, then that conversation will never be about me. I have had several occasions of being in these uncomfortable conversations. And, once a very, very dear mentor of mine said to me that, do you want to win this conversation? Do you want to win this argument? Or do you want to maintain the relationship? And that was the decision. Then who won, whose point was taken, not taken, who won the final argument just did not matter, because the relationship mattered. And really, for me, that's the kind of thinking that down the line helps you sleep better, that helps you be a better person, and helps you, just do things right. If the attention is not too much on the self. Of course, that doesn't mean that you don't think about self, but that's not what I'm talking about. So yeah, so these uncomfortable conversations that is so much more difficult for younger people to do is because the self is too big, and just because they're young, they haven't had too much of experience, time spent into doing various things, or they feel that they've seen a lot and everything, and they disregard the other everybody. So that's again back to not really respecting and not really regarding and being too righteous about it. So watch out for that. If you end up being in a lot of uncomfortable situations and conversations, then just look. I mean, if you're being righteous, if you really have the respect for the other person or not. And suppose not, then at least be straight about it and take care of the damages. Again, another thing about being straight about it doesn't mean that, okay, you just say whatever you want to say and that's being straight. No, being straight about that conversation basically means that, yes, you don't layer it up. You don't say that, yeah, you matter when the other person doesn't matter. That's of course being straight. But then if you drop respect out of that, then just being mean and selfish. And life gets back to you. Whether karma or not, let's not get that way, but life gets back to you, because you get tired. You get like, if you're in the whole righteousness space, and if you think you're always right, then you get tired, whether it's for a few days, a few months, and those days and months, you never know what can happen to you in that time. And do you really want that kind of a quality of life? So every moment when there is an uncomfortable conversation, there is an opportunity to look at your own self, my own self. That's what I do. And see that why is it even uncomfortable? And most often it's about the feeling of feeling unfair, being cheated, being disrespected, and not being able to say that. And when you say that, you of course have to take care of it, that the other person is also understood and heard. And once that is there is always an amicable space which will get created. One would not need to quit, run away, do blunderous things, and then hide away. So work on it. I do.